Imagine this. You've got $1.5 million saved, no debt, no kids at home, and your retirement plan says you're good to go. So why are you still working, still saving, and still not convinced it's time to retire? In this video, I'm going to show you the story behind one of the most surprising retirement cases I've seen, and what it reveals about why money alone doesn't make us feel ready. I'm Rob Gariano, a retirement planner who's helped hundreds of people retire with clarity. And what you're about to hear might completely change the way you think about your own timeline. Because this isn't just about one person. It's about a pattern I see all the time. And if you've ever asked yourself, what if it's not enough? This will hit home. Let's introduce our clients who we'll call for this video, Allison and Tom Jones. Both are 62 years old, recently empty nesters, and are starting to think seriously about the next chapter of their lives. They truly want to know if they'll be okay if they retire next year at age 63. They've been diligent savers. Between their retirement accounts, a joint brokerage account, and cash, they've built up just under $1.5 million. They also own their home outright without a mortgage, and it is worth approximately $650,000. Now, in regard to their investment accounts, we're going to use an average rate of return of 6.5% net of all costs. Of course, they will never receive exactly 6.5% return every year, so we need to use an average rate of return. Then factor in Monte Carlo simulation, which covers many different investment and economic variables, as well as a bear market stress test that you'll see shortly. We do this for every retirement plan we develop because it's important to stress test different environments to see how your plan will hold up. Allison and Tom have done well from an earnings perspective. Right now, Allison's salary is $145,000 and Tom's bringing in $120,000. On top of that, they're each set to receive Social Security benefit, about $40,000 for Allison and $37,000 for Tom if they wait until full retirement age. Now, as we do with all of our clients, we went through a monthly expense exercise to determine what they'll need from an income perspective during retirement. Allison and Tom plan to spend $7,000 a month on their basic living expenses and would like to allocate an additional $20,000 for travel through age 75. This does not include any out-of-pocket medical expenses, so we factored that in as well. We use $1,000 per month per individual for pre-Medicare costs. Then once Medicare begins at age 65, we cut that out-of-pocket cost in half to $500 per month per individual. Now, all of these expenses increase annually by inflation. Now, as we take a step back, on paper, they look ready to retire. No debt, reasonable lifestyle, no kids at home. But when we met, they were both hesitant. Not because they didn't think they had enough saved, but because the thought of walking away from 2 six-figure paychecks felt overwhelming. Tom said it best. I just don't want to wake up one day and realize we've made a mistake we can't fix. And that fear of running out, of retiring too early, and not being able to go back is one of the biggest reasons people stay working, even when the numbers say they could walk away. From where I sat, Allison and Tom were in a strong position. But like many of the couples I work with, their hesitation wasn't about the math. It was about trust. Not in me or the plan, but trust in themselves, in letting go of a paycheck and believing they can actually stop saving and start living. If this situation sounds similar to yours, or you just want more clarity around your retirement timeline, we put together a completely free, personalized retirement assessment process for our viewers. All you have to do is click the link in the description below to answer a few questions. And within 48 hours, we'll send across a personalized video walking through your exact situation. Don't wait though, because due to high volumes, we're only able to offer this to the first 20 people that send in their request. Now let's get back to Allison and Tom. When it comes to retirement, planning to the average just isn't good enough. We don't want your plan to work most of the time. We want it to work no matter what. That means stress testing every what-if scenario that's keeping you stuck. And today, we're going to focus on 3 specific stress tests that Allison and Tom were most worried about. The first, a serious health issue for one spouse. Now, we're going to assume it happens to Tom around age 75 and costs $250,000. Number 2, a market downturn of 20% in the year in which they enter retirement. Lastly, the possibility of living longer than expected. Tom and Allison have longevity on both sides of their families, with multiple family members living until their late 90s. They want to know if planning to age 100 was possible. When we can show clearly that the plan holds up even in those cases, that's when the fear starts to lessen. To help Allison and Tom move from fear to clarity, we didn't just talk about the risks, we ran the numbers. We used their actual savings, Social Security estimates, and spending goals to build a plan that accounted for the next 30 plus years. Then we put that plan through the exact 3 stress tests they were most worried about. For the sake of time, we're only going to focus on one main report during today's video, but this is just one of the many we use during the retirement planning process. So first, we look at the base facts, which is what your life looks like without changing a thing. We enter in all of the information we know without any variables for the time being. This will be used as our baseline for all scenario planning and stress tests going forward. For today's video, we'll focus on the Monte Carlo summary. As you can see, Allison and Tom are in a fantastic position with their Monte Carlo score being at 87% in their base scenario. I like to think about Monte Carlo score not as a probability of success, but rather a probability of making an adjustment. So if we take their 87% score, we would interpret that as there is a 13% chance that Allison and Tom will need to make a spending adjustment at some point throughout their retirement in order for them to satisfy all of their expenses until age 95. Now, we're looking for a score of 70% or more to be confident that we can accomplish our spending goals without making a huge adjustment later on during retirement. This will also be different depending on the family we're working with. Some are more willing to make an adjustment later in retirement so they can spend more early on, whereas some rather not make an adjustment at all. This is all part of the ongoing planning we do together. Now, we can take this a step further and see if Allison and Tom can increase their early spending and how much that would increase the odds they would need to make an adjustment later on in retirement. We did some homework and found out that they can increase their annual spend by $10,000 per year or $7,800 per month rather than the $7,000, and that would still get them a score of 70%. Which again translates to a 30% chance they would need to make a spending adjustment at some point in retirement. Now let's get back to our base facts and start with our first stress test, which will be looking at a major health event to Tom at age 75 that costs $250,000 in out-of-pocket healthcare costs. Their probability of success dips to 79%. Now, again, this translates as a 21% chance they would need to make a spending adjustment at some point during retirement if this event were to take place. This can be shown for any age and any dollar amount. But the main takeaway is that a health event midway through their retirement will not derail their overall retirement plan. So let's head back and into our next stress test, which is a market crash right as Allison and Tom enter retirement. As you can see here, it dramatically reduces the overall success of our base plan. To get us back up to our 70 to 75% success zone, we'll need to make an adjustment. Now, we already did our homework and we found out that if we reduce their living expenses to $6,000 per month rather than $7,000, we would get us to where they feel comfortable. Now, this doesn't mean that Allison and Tom will never be able to increase their spending at any point in retirement, but to pass this stress test, a spending adjustment will need to be made at the onset of retirement. They could have chosen to reduce their travel budget, but decided to make small changes to their living expenses to get them where they needed to be instead. Let's get back to the base facts here. They wanted us to see if we carried out the plan, as we discussed, would they have enough money until age 100? So we went back to our base case scenario and checked to see if living for 5 more years would dramatically impact their retirement plan. As you can see, it had a very minimal impact, which they were extremely happy to find out. They're even able to spend a little bit more and still have enough up until age 100. So as you saw today, in every scenario we ran for Allison and Tom, their plan held. Not because they had an extraordinary amount of money, but because we aligned their savings with their lifestyle, planned for what-if scenarios, and built in buffers that made uncertainty manageable. And that's the moment every client deserves, when logic replaces anxiety and retirement starts to feel real. You just saw a few pieces of the bases covered retirement system, but it's built around one simple goal: to help you retire with confidence, knowing every financial base is covered no matter what happens next. It's not just about retiring, it's about retiring with clarity, knowing your plan holds up even if life doesn't go exactly to plan. So that's Allison and Tom's story, and if any part of it felt familiar, you're not alone. Today you've taken a big step. You've seen how even with $1.5 million saved, people still hesitate to retire. and more importantly, why the hesitation exists. You've seen what happens when fear meets planning and how a clear, tested strategy can turn hesitation into confidence. But here's the truth. Watching someone else's numbers, even if they're similar to yours, will only get you so far. Because unless you've seen how your plan holds up under pressure, that fear never really goes away. That's why we offer something more personal. If you're wondering whether you can retire, not just hypothetically, but really retire, click the link in the description. It'll take you to a short form, and from there, we'll create a personalized one-on-one video that walks you through your numbers, your questions, and whether your bases are truly covered. Because clarity isn't just helpful, it's essential. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.